This is the Dollemore Daily, and I'm Jesse Dollemore.
There used to be a time in America, a brief window of time, where racists kept their mouths shut. They were afraid of public scorn, of outing themselves as the hateful bigots that they were. I don't know when it was, maybe late 80s to just a few years ago. It was just a very brief window. But Donald Trump gave racists everywhere, white supremacists everywhere, neo-Nazis everywhere, courage. He gave them a boldness to be who they are at their core. Very shortly after he was elected, we saw Charlottesville with the Jews will not replace us chants. And now we're in an era where Black Lives Matter is vilified, where the word woke, which is a catch-all for anything they don't like, but specifically about race. We watched the CRT, the critical race theory, panic that they were going to be teaching apparently graduate-level college courses to elementary school students to make them hate America. There's a banning books and denying the history of the United States. The Republican Party is just a white supremacy organization. They're an educational tool for racists and bigots. And right now, just the other day, there was a plane incident in the air with Alaska Airlines where a door blew off. Frightening footage. There are people strapped into their seats. Apparently a kid had his shirt ripped off from being sucked out the window. Nobody died, thankfully. Nobody was injured, thankfully. But right now, Republicans and conservatives and racists, they're all one unholy amalgam, they are making the claim that it's because black people. It's because there's not enough white people involved in the airline industry, and that's why these things are happening. First, if you don't know about the door situation, whether it be Boeing at fault or Alaska Airlines, I'm going to play a brief clip from CBS News to get you caught up. If you already know, you can skip ahead. There'll be a timer on the clip. And then I'm going to play a clip of Don Jr. just being as pukey as he can be, followed by Matt Walsh really doubling down and being extra shitty, which shouldn't come as a surprise if you know who Matt Walsh with the Daily Wire is. First, CBS News.
It appears it's all about the bolts. Investigators are increasingly focused on the four powerful bolts that should have kept the door panel from flying off this 737 MAX 9. They're unaccounted for.
We have not yet determined if they existed there.
So if the bolts are there, the door doesn't move up, which means it doesn't fly off.
Yes. If the bolts are there, it prevents the door from translating upwards and disengaging from the stop fittings.
And flying off the plane.
And flying off the plane. Okay.
Sometimes called a door plug, the panel replaces an optional emergency exit. It's visible from the exterior, but inside appears as a normal cabin window. Both Alaska and United are finding some with loose bolts on their now grounded planes. United saying it believes it's an installation issue. If you can't trust the manufacturer to tighten those bolts, can you trust them to tighten all the other bolts in the airplane?
Right now, we are focused on the evidence. We deal only with facts, and we're going to have to look at this aircraft. We will go broader if we need to.
CBS News has learned investigators want to know if Boeing has received damaged door plugs from its supplier. A month ago, a federal complaint by former employees of that supplier, Spirit AeroSystems, alleged the company's products frequently contained defects. How comfortable would you be getting on a 737 MAX today?
I flew on two 737 MAXs to get from Washington, D.C. to California yesterday.
Billy Nolan is the former acting FAA administrator. Is there a sufficient amount of FAA oversight of Boeing and its suppliers today?
I would argue that there is, but I would say as we go through this, is there something additional? So this is the right case to ask ourselves these questions. What have we missed, and what else should we be doing?
The NTSB plans to use forensics to try to determine if those bolts were ever installed. Boeing says it is committed to meeting the highest safety standards, and Spirit AeroSystems says its focus is quality. Again tomorrow, hundreds more flights are expected to be canceled. Nora?
Those were some tough and very interesting questions. Thank you, Chris Van Cleve.
So if for nothing else, that should give you an idea of how to report on this particular incident with data, with investigation, with clarity, not with invectives about, oh, they're not hiring the best people because they're hiring black people now. So the racism is so ingrained that every single thing that they can turn into a culture war, they're going to use, especially about race. So let's go to Don Jr. and see what his thoughts, his genius, brilliant thoughts are on the airlines and this door thing, and let's watch him make it about black people.
More DEI hiring practices at major airlines. Remember that one? United, we're going to try to make sure that 50% comes from something. Like, how about the best pilot? I know that seems shocking. I know I must be incredibly racist if I just want someone who knows how to fly the damn plane, not someone who got in because they checked a couple boxes and maybe there's a big boy in the room to teach them how to do it in case something goes wrong. No. I just want a good pilot. It doesn't seem like it's too much to ask. Just like I also want a really good surgeon. Right? You know, it's not rocket science, but it happens every day.
It's not rocket science. It's not rocket science. I'm Don Jr. What does it say about that dipshit that it's a presupposition that you're not qualified if you're black? That the only qualified individual, we can't question their qualifications if they're white. That is inherently racist. Why is it that someone who is hired to be a pilot or work in an airline manufacturing facility who's black, why is it that they just automatically, their qualifications need to be questioned? But this is where we are with the son of the President of the United States, who's now a media figure and a leader, a thought leader in the Republican Party. Another thought leader is Matt Walsh. I don't know what you're hiding under there with your chinless cover up there with the beard, Matt Walsh. You're not fooling anybody, little brother. Listen to him. Now, there's two clips I'm going to play for you. One is him attacking the DEI, the diversity, equity, and inclusion, and they call it DIE. Oh, how clever. And he's specifically questioning just jumping off here as a springboard from Don Jr., I'm going to play that, and then I'm going to play a clip where he specifically addresses the door thing, and trust me, it doesn't get any better.
Maybe Boeing installed the door improperly. We don't know, but at a certain point, we're entitled to some answers. We shouldn't have to guess or speculate about this. We should know the qualifications and the identities of the people manufacturing and installing these airplane doors, just like we should know the qualifications and identities of the United pilots who are skimming the water with Boeing passenger jets. We shouldn't have any doubts about their competence.
Is Matt Walsh asserting that incidents in the air relative to safety or incompetence or crashes only happen when a white man is not involved? Because that's what it sounds like to me. That there is no way in the pea brain of Matt Walsh, it is inconceivable, it is anathema to him that a black woman, or oh, God forbid, a black woman, be qualified. There's no way she could be intellectually or as a matter of skill qualified to pilot a plane. That is textbook racism. But you should expect no less from Matt Walsh. Here, he doubles down. It gets worse, talking specifically about the manufacturing of the door and the defects that are being investigated from the first clip of CBS. Watch this.
At no point are these people concerned about safety or competence. They want to put black women in the cockpit because they want to inspire more black women, and that makes them feel good. Not because they think they're getting smarter or better pilots, because if you want to get smarter or better pilots, then that's all you're concerned with. You just go looking for pilots who fit these qualifications, regardless of what they look like. If they happen to be a black woman, then great. If it ends up that you have no black women pilots, then that is also great. And this is not just some PR stunt. United is actually following through on this. According to United's latest corporate diversity report, of the 51 students that graduated from United's first class of pilots, quote, nearly 80% were women or people of color. So they vastly exceeded their target of 50%. And you can just decide for yourself whether they got to that 80% figure because it just so happened that almost all the most qualified people were women or people of color. I mean, if you believe that, then fine. They've almost completely eliminated white men in their training classes. And we're led to believe that this is progress. Meanwhile, pay no attention to the planes plummeting towards the ocean or smashing into the runway.
He's entitled to know the identities of those who had a hand in manufacturing those doors. What part of their identity do you think that Matt Walsh is most concerned with? The color of their skin? You see, these people who called people on the left race hustlers and obsessed with race, they themselves are obsessed with race. They scream and wail about identity politics when they themselves practice identity politics, are obsessed with identity politics. It's just because the norm in America up to this point has been the white supremacy, the white norm, the white status quo. So when that starts to falter, then it's, oh my God, this must be happening because there's not enough white people in charge. There's not enough white people on the assembly line. There's not enough white people in the cockpit. That is inherently racist that you just presume, it is presupposed by Matt Walsh that you cannot inherently be qualified or smart enough or skilled enough if you're black, if you're a woman. Thought leader in the Republican movement. Thought leader for conservatives. Open white supremacy. Open racism. Clear bigotry. The only thing that's not clear is what in the hell is going on under that beard, Matt Walsh? Is your little baby chin is it bringing you some dismay? You want to cover it up? That's the question for the ages, I think. What's your question? 714-576-4054. Of course, you can email me, daily@dollemore.com. I'd love to hear from you. I would also love if you would consider supporting this work. Click the join button below. For $1.99 a month, you can become a channel member and help financially produce this content. You can click the Super Thanks button, or you can go over to my Patreon page, patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast, which is not just for the podcast. It absolutely supports all the work we do across the platforms that we're on. Follow me on social media. I'm at Dollemore. I would love to see you there, and I will see you next time. Until then, be genuine, be less like Matt Walsh and Dopey Don Jr., and take care of one another.